So let's get into the misconceptions that you
Yes.
want to clear up
All right.
concerning this very
Okay.
big event.
Well, Commonwealth Youth Games is going to be hosted in Trinidad and Tobago from August 4th to 11th. This is a joint partnership or an arrangement of the Trinidad and Tobago Commonwealth Games Association, known to you as the TTOC, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and the Commonwealth Games Federation based in the UK. So I'm here to just really present the facts. I'm going to jump straight because I know the time is short. I have only 20 minutes. Now, the Commonwealth Games was granted to Trinidad and Tobago in 2019. It was 2018 we made the bid. Mr. Brian Lewis was the president of the TTOC or the TTCJ at that time, and Northern Ireland was carded to host the 7th Commonwealth Youth Games. They lost the opportunity. They were stripped of their hosting rights because they were experiencing political instability. So therefore, they opened up for other people to bid and strip Northern Ireland of its rights. And that's how Trinidad and Tobago got the opportunity to get into the bidding at that time. In usual fashion, when an NGB wants to bid, they have to come to the cabinet. The cabinet would grant them approval and say, okay, we would support in this amount. So by 2019, in February of 2019, I joined the TTCGA, Brian Lewis and his team, in presenting and defending our bid to the Commonwealth Games Evaluation Committee. They came to Trinidad and Tobago and they listened to our side of the story, they visited our sites, and they were impressed. We were up against Gibraltar. On a panel of 9 persons who were supposed to vote, Gibraltar got 4 votes, and then Trinidad and Tobago got 4 votes, and the president of the games had to break the vote, had to break the tie, and gave us her vote. So we're happy because of that. At that point in time, the concern of those who didn't vote for Trinidad and Tobago was, is Trinidad and Tobago a safe pair of hands to put these games in? And that would be based on not only crime situation, but more so political stability, the same political stability for which they had to move the games from Northern Ireland. But anyway, we won the bid, and in June of 2019, by July 2019, the Commonwealth Games Federation started doing their assessments, coming down, visiting our sites. We started introducing them to stakeholders and so on. And that was done in collaboration with the Tobago House of Assembly. At that point in time, Jomo Pitt was the Secretary of Sport. So I heard Chief Secretary Farley Augustine say yesterday that we secured these games and went on planning these games with little to no input of the Tobago House of Assembly. And that is not so. He's being misinformed. Somebody's not explaining everything to him. I've requested a meeting. When I saw the press conference last week, I requested, hey, he's misinformed. We need to meet. But I haven't been able to get a meeting. They agreed to a meeting yesterday. Secretary Clark, who told me that Secretary Baines was going to be at the meeting, I showed up and nobody showed. That's another story on its own.
But is there a task force in Tobago? Because I saw a press conference recently.
Yes, the Chief Secretary decided to do a task force in Tobago, and that's normal. That's normal. But there is the National Local Organizing Committee that we operate through when we have our games. Now, in June 2022, there was a little, from 2020 to 2022, we were not sure about if the games were going to happen due to COVID. And when we opened back for sports in March, the conversations began again. In June 22, the announcement was made that we are going to be hosting the Commonwealth Youth Games once again in Trinidad and Tobago, both Trinidad and Tobago at the previously approved sites. And that would be Dwight York Stadium for athletics. We only had 3 disciplines in Tobago at that time: Dwight York Stadium for athletics, Buku for the triathlon, and Pigeon Point for beach volleyball. In Trinidad, we were doing rugby 7, netball, aquatics, and cycling. Yeah?
And that remains as is?
That is what it was. Wait, I'm taking you through the history. That is what it was at that time. We felt like it's important for Tobago to, as Minister of Sport, as Member of Parliament for Tobago, of course it's important for Tobago to get a piece of the pie, and it's not only about visitors coming, it's about the tourism impact, 2,500 hotel room nights. These people have to eat somewhere, they got to go out, they got to be moved, transportation and so on. So that's work for those who are running taxi, preparing food and so on. So it's a beautiful experience. And Trinidad central government is prepared, and we budgeted to handle the whole cost based on the venue. So no money really had to come out of the Tobago House of Assembly. So
but I know you're going
for
with the
Tobagonians to benefit. Let me take you right where we need to be. So in July, Assistant Secretary and I, Wayne Clark, we went to the Commonwealth meeting of ministers, presented our case. The announcement was made that we are going to be the host. We met with stakeholders and learned as to, okay, this is how we're going to do this, and got hyped up and so on. When we returned in August, the Commonwealth Games Federation, people from the UK, they came in, they started site visits with us. I led the site visit. We invited Secretary Wayne Clark to come along and be a part of the decision making. He sat on the table with us. If you check social media, you'll see the pictures. And I led the visits at the sites in Trinidad, and Assistant Secretary Wayne Clark led the visits in Tobago. He took them to Pigeon Point Beach for volleyball, Buku for the triathlon, and Dwight York Stadium for athletics. But in November, the cabinet made a decision to refurbish Hasely Crawford Stadium and have the athletics move to Hasely Crawford Stadium. So from Dwight York to Hasely Crawford Stadium. In exchange for that, we gave 2 disciplines that were to be previously held in Trinidad to Tobago. That would be netball and rugby, with the intention of making sure that the tourism numbers remain the same, the economic activity remains the same, so Tobago doesn't lose out on the economic impact.
Right. Just as you go on, and you said netball for Tobago, and I'm thinking, where can this be accommodated? Given
yes, very good. The Tobago House of Assembly decided on where they wanted it to be held. They decided that they wanted netball to be held in the indoor the Shore Park Cultural Complex that was built for both sport and culture, and they want rugby to be held at the field up at Shore Park. And in good faith, we agreed and said, okay, yes, we have no problem in that, no objection. The International Federation representatives came, they saw what we were working with, and the Tobago House of Assembly said, don't worry, we would cover the cost for it.
Right,
no
so resurfacing or accommodation on the floor, it's concrete presently. Minister, for a national standard, are there any accommodation for maybe resurfacing the netball floor at the complex?
They have a wooden floor. They had already put it out. There was a big function to show the public what it's going to look like sometime earlier this year, at the end of last year. No, earlier this year, they had a function and they invited the public to come to see what it would look like. So the Tobago House of Assembly has it under control as it relates to that, and we trust that in good faith. What is interesting is that we kept reporting to the CJA, and they kept doing their visits and so on with Pigeon Point as the location for volleyball, up to the visit on February 8th, where the Tobago House of Assembly showed the Commonwealth Games Federation the locations in Tobago. Pigeon Point still was the location for volleyball. On March 4th, I visited Tobago for a walkthrough, a site visit with the different, to look at the different areas. We were to go to Buku, we went to Buku, Shore Park, and then to Pigeon Point. It was when we were at Shore Park that Mr. George Leacock, who explained to us that, who told us that he was assigned by the Tobago House of Assembly Chief Secretary to be the head of the task force, that the House of Assembly is looking into building a facility for the beach sports in Black Rock. And so instead of going to Pigeon Point, he said, come, let me show you where it is. Because I raised the concern, do you think we're going to complete this thing in time? You know, so when I got on site and I saw the location, I said, but isn't this the same location where the Tobago House of Assembly and the central government was going to build a fire station, and there was public uproar about economic concerns since it's close to the turtle nesting site and so on. So I asked, well, do you have, if you're looking at doing this for Commonwealth Youth Games, then you should have started yesterday. Do you have EMA approvals? Have you started your consultations? Does the Tobago House of Assembly at least have a plan, something that we can work with? And they said, no, don't worry, we have this under control, that would be taken care of. I said, you have to move. If you're, this is March 4th, if you're looking at being ready for trials, which should start on June 26th, you have to move. That was March 4th. And they said, don't worry, because it's under control. So since then, visits continued and so on, and I got no update to say, well, okay, we have EMA approval, this is what the plan is going to look like, and so on. If you're changing venues, there is a process where the CGA would talk with the stakeholder and then bring the proposal to the LOC and then bring the proposal to the Ministry of Sport, which would take it to the cabinet for approval, and then we ask the CGF, can you approve? And that hadn't happened, but I turned on my TV in last week, Thursday, April 13th, which is a month and 2 weeks from March 4th, to hear an announcement being made by the THA that the venue for volleyball has changed to the facility which is to be built at Blackrock.
And not only for Commonwealth Youth Games, but for the future as well.
Right, and for the future. And I said from the get-go, I'm from Tobago West. I'm Minister of Sport. I am all for Tobago having a beach facility, a beach sport facility in my constituency. My concern remains, is this thing going to be finished on time? And two, the environmental requirements from the EMA and so on. And I didn't feel like, okay, we can just, we don't have the authority to just switch the site like that. You have to go through the process, get the cabinet approval and then the Commonwealth Games approval. But instead I heard the Assembly saying, well, we have made a change. That was surprising to me. That was also a surprise to the Commonwealth Games Federation. We have to remember that there is a contract that was signed last year as to hosting these games, as to venues, as to the contract itself speaks to whatever we're doing, it has to be environmentally sound. Do we really want to draw the Commonwealth Games Federation into a saga at an environmentally sensitive site where you have not shown approval from the EMA? Secondly, there's nothing to show us that you are going to be completed in time for the trials. Is this something we want to chance when you have Pigeon Point already approved? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to stand in the way of building this facility. I would love to see us get this facility, but we have to do things the right way. We have a contract with the Commonwealth Games Federation. So if you pick up the phone right now and call the Commonwealth Games Federation, they would tell you the approved site for volleyball still is Pigeon Point Beach. So I cannot sit and watch or even endorse or participate in a conversation that says the venue has changed. That would be irresponsible of me as Minister of Sport. So
here the challenge here I'm asking now. Is there opportunity, because clearly time is running out for trials and so on, given that the site that the teacher wants to go with is Blackrock. However, is there any conversation to settle this battle? And because they don't want it to end up in an embarrassment.
It's not supposed to, because the same day I learned of this Blackrock site on the TV is the same day the Commonwealth Games Federation in the UK learned about this site also. That should not be. There is a process as it relates to changing venue. And so when the Commonwealth Games Federation says, as far as we are concerned, the location for beach volleyball still is Pigeon Point, then I can't jump on the bandwagon of the Chief Secretary or watch him even go down that route, because we have a contract and there is a process as it relates to changing venue. And we have to keep in mind we are only 10 and a half weeks to trials and 14 and a half weeks to the game. So you asked if there was a meeting. When I saw the press conference last week, Thursday, I said, what is this? I contacted the chairman of the organizing committee, Ephraim Serrett. I said, Chairman, do you know anything about this? He said, no, I don't know what's going on, and tried reaching out to the members while they were on screen. At the end of the day, long story short, the chairman has resigned from the committee as a result of all the chaos that took place.
Which chairman? Because there's the task force and you're talking about...
No, the task force is the THA's Tobago team.
Right.
There is a national committee that already started planning and so on. So they did not speak to the chairman on any of this. Chairman did not know what they were speaking about. By the end of the day, I received a resignation letter from the chairman. So I called WASP, or should I say Assistant Secretary Clark, because we have been working hand in hand on Thursday, on Friday, because I said, I need to know what's going on. Somebody needs to tell me what's going on. His response was, I am in Carifta. He didn't answer, so I messaged him. He said, I'm abroad. I understand that he was at Carifta. So, okay, no problem. On Saturday, I understand that the Chief Secretary keeps Sabbath. I didn't call him on Saturday. So I reached out to the Chief Secretary on Sunday. He didn't answer. So I sent him a text message. I said, hi, I really need an audience with you because this is happening and, you know, we need to have some kind of discussion. He did not respond. On Monday, I called Secretary Clark again, trying to get a message, trying to get a meeting. No response, no acknowledgement of my calls. On Tuesday, he contacted me, so on Monday afternoon, after ducking the media, from Thursday, since they had their press conference, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I literally ducked the media. On Monday, I have to face the media. So I was trying to call them before facing. So I faced the media, and I tried to remain very diplomatic about it. I said, the approved site still is Pigeon Point. I cannot make any other announcement because we don't have any other approval from the Commonwealth Games Federation, and we haven't gone through the process of getting the cabinet approvals and so on. So according to the Commonwealth Games Federation, and as far as we are concerned, Pigeon Point, I can't make any other announcement.
But let's hope Pigeon Point ready. Pigeon Point ready to host that event.
They usually host volleyball activities and beach sport activities. It would just be putting up bleachers and so on. And this is what the THA had recommended to us all the way.
Because I'm thinking about where would the infrastructure be placed?
No,
because if there's
it's bleachers that they're using the sand. The biggest issue there was bringing in the sand.
No, but I'm thinking about the action, executing and setting up in preparation for the games. If there's a confusion or there isn't a final agreement with regards to where that particular event is taking place, where would these contractors or whoever is setting up the infrastructure place their equipment?
It's sand, it's bleachers for the most part for the volleyball at Pigeon Point.
No, but would they go to Blackrock or would they go to Pigeon Point?
Right
that
now,
is my question.
The Commonwealth Games Federation, and according to the government of Trinidad and Tobago, according to our contract or arrangement and so on with Commonwealth Games Federation, is Pigeon Point is the approved location of the Federation. They have not granted any approval for anywhere else. And I would really like for good sense to prevail and for the THA to come to the table. When Wayne called me, Secretary Wayne called me on Tuesday, he said, because that would have been after my press conference, he said, okay, we really need to have this meeting. I said, sure, when? I said, today's Tuesday, I'm in Trinidad, I can make my way to Tobago tomorrow. And he said, okay, let's do it before he goes to Exec Council and before I go to my joint select committee. Let's go do 8:30 to 9:30 because we have that tight time. Let's get there on time. I got there at 8:28 and nobody showed. I called and I messaged. He responded to me saying, well, we have an emergency, we can't make it. I said, what's happening? So I sat there for an hour and nobody showed. I reached out to the chief secretary and he didn't respond until a couple hours later stating, well, he was busy and so on. But anyway, he's disappointed that announcements are being made about Pigeon Point. And he reminded me that Schedule 5 of the THA Act says, whatever it says. I know he's trying to say that sport is under the Tobago House of Assembly, but the Tobago House of Assembly has been right on board. And I think that this doesn't have to play out in the public domain because CYG is listening. And you don't want to look like an unsafe pair of hands. Can we as adults and as leaders sit at the table and discuss this because there is a contract and there's a clear process as to how to change a venue and you need Commonwealth Games approval.
Ms. Kodjo, this is so unfortunate. However, I would hope that we get to the place where the focus is the games and a decision is made. We want to thank you for being in this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
And of course, we wish and we're looking forward to the Commonwealth Games.